I've made a list of what I thought were the hardest relic races before, and now I've decided to make a top 16 of the hardest Emperor Velo trials, starting with the easiest and ending with the hardest. Now, of course, this list is subjective, and to a certain extent have to do with my own progress throughout the game. Like, I was better at the game at the end of the Oxide trials and at the start of them, and better at the game at the end of the Velo trials and at the start of them. So maybe a track is easier in my mind just because I played it later in my own run than some other tracks that I maybe played earlier, simply because I was not that good yet at the game as I was later on. Alright, starting off at number 16 we have Spyro Circuit. Now, Spyro Circuit has no really advanced techniques needed. You just need to learn the track and race it efficiently. But Velo's time is relatively fast though, so there's little room for error, and the hardest part for me ended up being the roundabouts at the very beginning of the track. At 15 you get Papu's Pyramid. Now all I need to say is the spiral towards the top of the pyramid. Now thankfully some leeway is given, so you don't need to be perfect. At number 14 we get Twilight's Tour. Now the track has a nice flow to it, and for the most part you just need to keep your momentum. The shortcut is required, but it has an easy air brake. Now for me it was easy because I did other tracks that needed more difficult air brakes before, so maybe if I did with this one earlier it might have proven more difficult. At 13 we get Blizzard Bluff. Now Velo is pretty fast in this one, and I basically beat him by taking the fence shortcut in lap 3. It's a shortcut that Velo thankfully does not take, because if he did, this track would be put way higher up on the list. Because that fence shortcut is not the easiest fence jump to make. At 12 you get Sewer Speedway. Now the shortcut remains iffy, like if you don't line it up right, your run is done. The rolling barrels remain a hassle as well. Add that Velo never truly makes a mistake, and you can't make a mistake either, so this is definitely one of the harder trials as well. Tiny Temple comes at number 11. It helps that before you get to Velo you need to grind out Oxide, because basically it's a track that teaches you to keep Blue Flame throughout the entire race. The track has a nice flow to it though, but Velo time is, in my opinion, pretty tight, so no mistakes again allowed. At number 10 we get Clockwork Wumpa. Now at the start you can easily get squished, and at the very end of the track you need to perform an air brake so as to take the final turn correct. So it can get a bit frustrating. There is some leeway though, but if you make an error on the wrong part of the track you need to restart from the beginning. At 9 we get Dragon Mines. Now it's a track that forces you to learn how to take a sharp turn. That or gamble on not getting squished by the cart. And I chose to gamble. As such I basically lucked my way to victory. The one run I managed to avoid getting squished 3 times in a row. At 8 we got Electron Avenue. There's a disappearing track, lasers that can end your run, tight corners that need air brake. All that makes this a hard track. Thankfully, this one came after I done Cortex Castle, meaning I already got quite a bit of practice in when it comes to air braking. At number 7 we got Gingerbread Joyride. I did not have that much trouble with Velo, to be honest, but I had to include it because of my trouble with Oxide. Now, because I spent so much time on Oxide, I learned this track quite well, and the shortcuts needed. So all that grind for Oxide and the improved timing of turbo boosting made this one easier than expected. Yeah, but still, one hit from the side of the road or from one of the jellies and your run is done and you need to retry. Right, next up is Deep Sea Driving. Do this track enough times and eventually you'll more or less learn how to avoid the saws most of the time, but it will take quite a bit of learning, quite some trial and error before we get there. So yeah, frustrating. At 5 we get turbo track. Now it was the first track that really forced me to dial in on getting the timing right to get perfect boost turbo in order to maintain blue fire. Now technically this track also forced you to improve your turning, but I got around that by basically slowing down against the wall when that S turn, or what is it, yeah, those tight turns come around. With that we reach number 4, and that's Hot Air Skyway. Now actually I find Hot Air Skyway to be a relatively easy track right up until the shortcuts. The Velo time basically forced me to go on the internet and discover exactly how Velo makes that jump and teach me basically about air brake. And learning that mechanic without falling off, without losing blue fire for holding brake too long, or hitting the fence, that took me quite a while. At number 3 we get Nina's Nightmare. And I'm not really sure how that one sneaked into the podium spot. All in all, maintaining blue fire in the haunted house and avoiding the green acid to avoid slowdown can be quite tricky. So yeah, add a fence and I guess it gets a spot on the podium. At number 2 we get Out of Time. It's at number 2 because of a couple of things, like you have a very annoying fence, the need to get perfect timing on your boost turbos to maintain blue fire, and then there's this really well placed windmill, like put in such a place just designed basically to end your runs. And finally at number 1 we get Cortex Castle. Now if Hot Air Skyway was my introduction to air braking, this track basically forced me to get decent at it. Add in the spiders and you get a very, very, very tough track. Thankfully you only need to keep the blue fire till about halfway the track to beat Velo. Otherwise, I'm not sure if I would have gotten this one done.